Hi guys and girls, I'm Q&Ant and welcome to this new monthly video series. Now this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, which in short is to open things up and give viewers the chance to get a bit of feedback and interaction going on. So with that in mind, I created a post over on my Patreon page asking backers to submit questions or topics. Now most of what is there is going to probably end up being Elite Dangerous related, but that's by no means essential. Anything goes, whether it's other games or even talking about creating content or whatever takes your interest. Now I'm not going to start getting into gating my content behind a paywall, so making these videos available to all viewers is really the thing I'm aiming for. Suggestions for subjects to talk about, however, will be coming through my Patreon subscribers. I think you can all agree that strikes a pretty fair balance between giving something to everyone as well as giving something to the Patreon subs. And I also want to add in here that I'm incredibly grateful to anyone who watches any of my videos, no matter whether you're a regular viewer or a Patreon, or if you've donated through PayPal or wherever else. Without you, this channel would be nothing, and it really does mean a great deal to me. Also, if you've ever donated anything through PayPal and you want to get involved, then do feel free to send me a message directly through YouTube and I'll include you there. So the plan is that on the 1st of each month, I'm going to put a post over on Patreon asking people to submit their questions and topics or whatever else it is they want to talk about, and that post will stay open for around about 10 days. So that should give people plenty of time to get involved, and after that I'll start putting these videos together for release at about the middle of the month or so. So then, let's get on with it. Firstly then, Buntsberg asked about space engine content. Will I be doing more of it, or could he see more content? And yeah, I'm mentioning names here. If you prefer me not to do that, then do let me know. But yes, space engine is certainly something I'm going to be doing more videos on, and we can look in detail on that in future videos. But it really is an exceptional piece of software, and one that has been no doubt a passion project for the developer for over a decade now. The results really do speak for themselves, and it's, in my opinion, the most impressive simulation of space available. So there will certainly be more space engine videos, and if there's anything specific you'd like to see, then do let me know. Also, if you have any questions about the software, then do put them below and I'll reach out to the developer and I'll see if we can get them answered. So yeah, ask your questions either in the comment section here or elsewhere. Cliff Dobbs wanted to talk a bit about Chapter 4. In specific, what about exploration? What type of content could we see? Well, at this point, we know very little about what is coming for exploration in Chapter 4, although the good news is that Frontier are planning to release some detailed information on this on the 18th of June. There's a couple of things we do know, however. Firstly, Frontier want to implement new exploration mechanics, and this will come with new phenomena. Now, phenomena, of course, can mean absolutely anything, especially if you can't say it properly like me, but it usually means things like comets, accretion disks, and other such things. Now, I don't want to speculate too much on this really, as I don't want to get too hyped about things that may not ultimately come. New phenomena, though, have been confirmed, but there's not at the moment any specifics. The other thing we know that is coming is improved planetary surfaces, particularly for ice worlds, which actually make up a huge chunk of the worlds that are out there, if we're being honest. But if I'm going to start getting imaginative about the update and talk about all the things I'd love to see, then there's a whole realm of possibilities. From the ability to have new detection tools out there, to the ability to locate resources, as well as new gameplay loops. I do want to stress though that I don't want to see Frontier breaking down a discovery scanner, for example, into multiple minigames that ultimately only end up achieving the same thing that it currently does. We do want new stuff after all, don't we? So in terms of tools, I'd like to see passive scanners that notify us when certain conditions are met, and I'd like to see active scanners which require player input and skill. For planetary scans, I'd love them to become multi-layered. So currently we have the discovery scanner followed by a detailed scan. I think it would be interesting to then have a number of other scans, such as orbital scans to give us geological regions on a planet, and then some low-level flying scans to help us find specific things such as fumaroles, geysers, or even resources. In short, I'd like the ability to actually use the tools to find everything that's out there, rather than relying on pure chance or just flying around at random. So those are a few of my hopes anyway, but I guess we'll have to see. However it turns out though, I'd really like to see exploration mechanics connecting to the rest of the game, so the things we find and discover can influence the other game aspects. For example, locating research areas could help mining. So yeah, just a few thoughts there, but we should be getting some real information on that pretty soon. A bigger question for me though, somewhat related to this, is what will the premium content Frontier release this year be? And this is something that Frontier mentioned around about the middle of last year. There is going to be some premium content this year, but we have absolutely no idea what it's going to be. Is it going to be something small, or is it going to be something big? Personally, I'm hoping for it to be on something on expansion levels. In particular, I'd like to see atmospheric worlds. Now there's a chart here that shows the current worlds we've got access to, and this also shows us the additional types of planets we'd get access to if we just got access to basic atmospheric worlds. And of course, if you tie this into new gameplay mechanics or new exploration mechanics, then you really do open up a whole lot of new possibility to keep the game interesting and varied. Avram has got a whole bunch of questions, so we're going to go into a few of these, and I will paraphrase his questions here. The first question is, how long does he think the Thargoid content will go on for, and what will be next? So the Thargoids have always been with Elite, ever since day one all the way back to 1984, and they've made a slow reappearance over the course of the past few years. And personally, I think like a few people, I feel that whole process has been a little bit slow, which in turn makes it a little bit difficult to predict how long they're going to be around for. It does seem very likely though that the Thargoid content is building towards something fairly big, whether that is full-scale invasion, or the razing of Earth, or anything else. And can you imagine if that they do get through to Earth and Frontier replace the model of Earth with a ball of molten lava? I think that would cause some reaction, wouldn't it? I really don't think that the Thargoids are going to go away anytime soon though, and I really do suspect that we'll be seeing them interfacing with more and more game loops as time goes on. The other question is, why do I like Elite over other space games? So yeah, there's a whole lot of other space games out there right now, and a number of them are on the horizon that I'm really interested in seeing. Infinity Battlescape comes to mind, as does Bethesda's Starfield. Those are two great examples. But why do I choose Elite over all the other current space games? Well, there's three reasons for that. The first is because Elite is a fantastic galaxy. There's nothing out there quite like it. Having the ability to pick up a ship and fly around in a full-scale galaxy is just amazing. The second reason is because Elite keeps changing. Sure, we can make the argument, and I think to some extent it's a reasonable argument, that the basic game mechanics today are very much the same as they were back in 2014. But it's also true that a whole load of new things have been added since then. Thargoid bases, burning stations, passenger missions, new ships, all of these help make the game feel as though it's always changing. And the third reason for me liking Elite over the other current lot of space games is because Elite is the most complete space game currently out there. Star Citizen does have massive potential of course, but it's not a full game release just yet. No Man's Sky on the other hand is a full release, and it's had some truly amazing updates over the course of the past few years. But it really doesn't have the best flight mechanics out there, certainly nowhere near the comparison or the levels of what Elite Dangerous has. So in short, there's nothing out there that quite like Elite at the moment. And that quite nicely brings us into the next question. Why is there an increasing amount of space games? And yeah, over the past few years, space games has been an increasing genre. There's more of them out there than ever before, and it's really an interesting question to think about. And when you do think about it, it's not just space games that have become more popular, but sci-fi as a whole. The whole culture surrounding it has had a massive shift over the past decade or so. Sci-fi is certainly no longer purely the domain of geeks or nerds, of which I'm certainly in both camps there. But it's now a thing that people from all walks of life can have an interest in, and in fact they actively do. On the one hand, I think that movies and TV have played a huge factor in this. In particular, Marvel has had a massive influence on it, as had Netflix. And the rise of instant access to just about everything and anything, no matter where you are or what you want, has clearly played a big part in that. I mean, if you want to take a look at a comic, you can have almost any issue of any genre in your hands in mere moments. Want to play a space game? Well, yeah, you can do that right now. Just download something, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on your computer or your tablet or your console. It's all easy and it's all accessible. So I think all of that has played a part in the rise of the space genre, and some big publishers really are taking note. Again, I go back to Bethesda's Starfield there, which hopefully is going to be a great example and something that we can all enjoy. Avram's fourth question goes on to the issue of story, in particular side stories in Elite. Now there's a lot of story content in there, including Thargoid content and Guardian content, but there's also a lot of side stories. And I think Avram's wondering if I feel any of them are actually connected into the main storyline. So again, it's an interesting question. I'd actually like to say yes to this, and I do think they all are connected. But if I'm being honest, I have a feeling that they're in fact not. That's just personal opinion, of course, but that's the impression I get. Salome was a great story back when it all happened, and it was quite some nice twists and developments of the game in many ways. But it was also one that was developed by an author Drew Wager, rather than Frontier themselves, and whilst Frontier did include elements of that into the game, I haven't seen much about it in recent times. The Generation ships still have a lot of potential to hook into the main story, and I wouldn't at all be surprised if at some point someone out there looks and finds a Generation ship that contains a huge Thargoid reveal, but who knows. Many of those stories have their own plot, and for what they are, they work really, really well. There's a nice backdrop to the galaxy there. But we do know that Frontier go to great lengths to hide things either in plain sight or in some remote locations. The alien puzzles have been fantastic examples of this. And then of course there is the mystery of Raxler, which still hasn't been solved and no one really knows anything about. So whilst I don't think that all the side stories are necessarily connected, I honestly don't think that we have seen everything yet and there's much more to come. Daddy Warbucks wants to talk about mining changes. Well, I think mining has a real potential to dramatically change the game, and I'm sure we're going to find more out on this very, very soon. In the next few weeks, in fact. I think Frontier have got it scheduled for May, the discussions on mining. But some things I'd like to see are striking it rich by finding valuable resources, and this could tie into the exploration tools I mentioned earlier, where we could use them to actually find these types of resources. And I really do feel that any resources we could find out there should be able to deplete, so that once they're gone, once we've mined them all out, they're actually gone forever. It'd be time to move on and find something else. I mean, the Elite Galaxy is absolutely massive. I believe there's something in the region of 19,000 inhabited systems in the game, and there's literally billions of other systems, so there's no shortage of things to find. We could go out there mining pretty much for the rest of our lives, the entire player base, and we still wouldn't even make a dent in what's out there to discover. I'd also like to see that the further out into space you go, that there'd be a greater chance of finding exceptionally rare or valuable materials or objects. It'd also be great to be able to stake a claim to any of the resources, and for some of the bigger resources, or maybe some of the bigger resource area perhaps, that maybe we could use the fleet carrier to stake a claim to them. I'd also like to see resources that are not just limited to financial benefits, whether those are materials or otherwise. I guess we'd have to see, but there's plenty of opportunities out there. Like I say, I think mining really has the potential to massively open up the game, especially if it hooks into other elements. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see again, but it's not too long now until we're going to hear more about this. Daddy Warbucks again wants to talk about alliance ranks. Where are the alliance ranks? What's been going on with them? And yet this is something I've often wondered about myself. And at this point, you know what, I really don't think we're ever going to actually get them. At least not in the sense that we currently have with Federation or Imperial ranks. One of the reasons for that is that I don't think a lot of people are fans of rank-locked ships, and that Frontier are now actually preferring to offer all the new ships to everyone upon release, rather than hiding them or locking them away behind a rank. After all the new ships that we've had recently, the Chieftain as well as the Type 10 have been alliance ships, haven't they? So yeah, they're not rank-locked. Another reason for perhaps not having ranks or alliance ranks is that it's possible Frontier are thinking about reworking the whole military system in-game, which might involve changing the whole rank system. If that were to be the case, then there would be little point in actually introducing alliance ranks until the change actually happens. But who knows, there's no information on that just yet, and it's certainly not even been hinted at for more than a few years now. I think the last time it was spoken about was by Michael Brooks, either back in 2015 or maybe even 2014. Now at the end of each of the videos here that I do on this particular series, I'd like to do something that I hope you'll find a little bit interesting. I'm often asked about the content creation process, how I go about filming, how I go about editing, and my entire setup. So I think a minute or two at the end of each video will eventually build up a big picture of that for you, so let's see how that goes. And if I haven't answered any of your questions that you submitted this week or in this particular video, then please don't fret, I'm going to try and fit them into a future video. There's a real risk of these videos going on far too long if I squeeze too much in one go. So then, at the end of this video, let's have a look at how I make the videos. In this video, we'll have a look at the editing software I use. So here then, you can see my setup, and if this is something you're interested in having a closer look at, then do let me know, and it's something we can look at in more detail in a future video. So in terms of editing software, I use Premiere Pro, which is an Adobe software. But it's by no means the only software I've ever used. I have used Sony Vegas in the past, or I believe it's just called Vegas now. I don't think Sony actually own it. But either way, I do prefer Premiere Pro. I find it far more flexible, and the fact it integrates very well with other Adobe softwares such as Photoshop and Adobe Audition is immensely helpful. Now, I do believe that some people find it not all that intuitive, and I must say, when I first came to it, it was a little bit difficult to use and not at all what I was used to. But as you get used to its own way of doing things, then you soon start to see just how flexible it actually is. Now, for capturing the games and for capturing desktop, I use OBS, and this is a really great piece of software. In fact, it's one of the best capture softwares I've used, and I've used a whole range of them. This one made all the better because it's actually free as well. And in case you're wondering, yes, editing a video together does take me quite some time. Occasionally I can get them together in about an hour or so, but more often than not it takes multiple hours to get a video edited. And all in all, a video from start to finish, from capturing the footage right through to finally rendering and upload, can take the best part of the day. So there we go then, a bit of an insight into my video creation process. If you're interested in this and you do enjoy it, then do let me know, because I'll add some more onto the end of future videos in this series. So before I go then, I'd like to thank everyone who's watched this video. I'd like to thank all my subscribers. Without you, I really wouldn't have a channel. And I'd like to give an extra special thanks to all the Patreon subscribers out there. It really does mean the world to me. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.